Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an empty green expanse. This little interlude is to show off a Minecraft creation that some online friends were interested in seeing. It's based on the final boss's dungeon from my last giant D&D campaign. It's interesting taking something from paper and applying it entirely into a three-dimensional world where things like architecture and aesthetics exist and matter, as opposed to as a bunch of two-dimensional graph paper sketches that only really outline the appearance of each individual room in the fortress, and then splitting them up into two groups and some of them not being able to coexist properly in three-dimensional space. It's really fun to try and make that work properly. So here we have the fortress. This is the Black Spire, and we're just going to do a quick flyby since we're in creative mode. This is going to be a fairly brief video, but it is an enormous structure, and deliberately so. And yes, some physical impossibilities abound, like that narrow neck on top of, you know, an empty box holding up this huge, enormous tower. This is a world where magic exists, so we can't be too extremely picky about, okay, the world's not loading properly. That's a problem. I should probably turn my render distance down. That would be a smart decision. Let's go with normal. Normal's probably safer. But yes, this is the General's Fortress. The neck of the main spire is the entire thing is still a work in progress, but the neck of the main spire has got some basic decoration in the form of a handful of aluminum sigils, as found on the Wizards of the Coast website. It was definitely going for something very supervillainy, something very comic book lair-ish when I decided to design aesthetics for this thing, so I came up with this sort of simple, normal-ish keep. Probably once contained much more than just an enormous throne room, but has since been repurposed as the rest of the fortress pushed it up out of the ground. Quick descent. Oh, I never recapped this with the glass. That's unfortunate. Here. I am in love with both symmetry and asymmetry, and discovered that by gradually reducing the center of my towers and keeping one edge more or less lined up, I could come up with this really kind of evil, wicked-looking, off-kilter, slanted roof. I don't know. I'm not an architect. I may do a run-through of the interior at some point, because all of these, well, many of these chambers actually do have an interior to them. The outer towers and so forth are extremely simple because they were not part of the original design. They mostly just link the defenses together. I'll probably use command blocks with some teleport commands to move from tower to tower, or from inside of the actual fortress to outside again. And that's me falling into a hole. So here you can see where there really hasn't been a lot of work done on the facade. It's just the internal structure laid bare. For example, plop plop. You know, one of the rooms where the party would have fought a mini-boss, things like that. Mostly doing this project because I realized a lot of my designs as a DM, I don't think this way. I don't think in aesthetics and 3 dimensions for the exteriors of structures, because in D&D you don't have to a lot of the time. Often you can get away with just building cool interiors with nasty monsters and decent traps and interesting puzzly challenges, and everything will work out fine. The players will never even think about the outside of the buildings, but trying to bring this sprawling series of rooms together into something that looks like a single structure, like this entire wall here, believe here in particular, most of this wall is just a hollow facade that I built exclusively to connect... Oh no, this one actually does have part of a hallway in it. So there are some of these are real walls. I know the giant wall on this side, that whole wall is just a hollow structure that was just designed to pull together this area and connect it all the way over here to this area, which is the next part with actual structure that matters. And trying to make this into something that looks like a inclusive structure rather than just a series of interconnected rooms and hallways, giving it, you know, battlements and places where this evil fortress could be defended during the big bad's first rise to power has proved a real challenge. And over here, ignore this, this is the dungeon level, which I had to build separately because I could not for the life of me figure out how to mount it properly, how to align it properly with the fortress itself. So I built the dungeon level separately, and I'll link it up with command blocks. But yep, this is the Black Spire. This is the prettier side where I've done more work. I've kind of followed the battlements mostly, but I'm following them in both directions at once, and it's not the most efficient way to do it, but I don't think I could manage any other way. So yeah, it's a quick flyover, and I guess I'll give a preview for those who haven't seen of the courtyard down below. And who knows, maybe we'll do an in-depth walkthrough of the entire fortress, both paths through the thing. Who knows. For now, though, Dmitri Wilgard is signing off.